Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is SloyXP, captions on this video are provided by Liara, and this week's recap definitely covers the classical 4 elements. And we're not talking about DJing, MCing, breakdancing, and graffiti, although Azuma has built a drum machine, we're pretty sure Impulse armor-standed some breakdancers, they're spray painting entire landscapes, and these are all MCs in the MCYT sense. We're talking about water, which everyone plunges into with the Nautilus race, air, because everyone seems to have rediscovered the glass fog effect, earth, because of how much landscaping and forestry is going on, and of course, fire. Only the avatar, Pearlescent Moon, has mastered all 4 elements, and when the world needed her most, she vanished. About 120,000 blocks away.
Where am I? I don't... What? Yep, what, is that 100,000 blocks? How did they manage that?
But if you, like us, believe that Pearl can save the world, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with BOO, who takes us back in time to when all this was a forest, by which we mean Season 10.
Actually, it was a difficult process, a lot of blocks.
B-Dubs has been missing the level of immersion he got from a walk through the woods, and so naturally he treks out to the densest forest in the game to grab some resources and comes back with a creaking heart. Yes, we mean the block, but we can't imagine his own heart is in great condition either, after staying up past his bedtime and being jump scared by mobs all night.
Where? I can't see anything!
It expands his block palette enough that fallen trees and a variety of bark textures contribute to a beautiful dense forest, which at certain points frames a view of both his base and the ruined tower, which gets a water wheel complete with its own glass river.
No, that will not work, it is so bright. There would have to be more finessing with darker glass.
Nature is healing, and we're pretty sure B-Dubs is the doctor. Meanwhile, in the nether, spooky nature is healing, despite Tango Tech's bestest efforts. It's one thing that Tango decided that the tunnel leading to the Decked Out 3 experience should be some scary woods. It's another that the mob switch he installed to preserve it keeps unswitching itself when it shouldn't. Since the spawning algorithm is not going down without a fight, Tango at least makes sure that ghasts won't happen across the darkened trope and burn down the place. And if they will, what does he care really? His personal portal is behind this 1x1 hole in the wall. No ghast can fit there.
Not to get distracted, but let's get distracted, alright?
If you want to know where ghasts can fit, Impulse SV has an episode for you. First, he clears all the remaining silo terrain all the way down to bedrock in a time lapse that must have been several live streams in the making. Then, after layering some glass fog over the bedrock and building some ventilation shafts, he rehydrates a ghastling inside of each one, so before it grows up he can leash it to a boat below the floor, and after it grows up it will perpetually spin like a massive cooling fan.
Oh, he's our fan. He's our biggest fan. Yep. Look at that. He's almost perfectly centered as well.
He's getting ready to carefully position the rest of these ghasts when some mysterious server lag hits, and he finds himself teleported to the middle of nowhere, and 3 people in chat start acting very suspiciously.
I'm 30. Ah! What is happening? The heck, man? What are they doing to me? I'm so far.
The relocation saga actually takes us all the way back to Tango Tech, who, after walking away from the PC for a bit, has found himself in a new and exciting place. Gemini Tay and Grian have found him and spent his full lunch break nudging the poor guy from his worksite, but this did plant a seed of an idea into Gem and Grian's heads. How far can they nudge a guy without him doing anything about it?
Capture their ender pearl and launch that instead, or...
Now
Yeah,
you're
I don't know.
talking.
Pearl has ender pearls everywhere.
The answer came when they remembered about the Firewatch Tower Ender Pearl stasis chambers that Impulse and Pearl have installed across the server. The pearls in the bubble columns still being there with physics enabled and will remain as such until they hit a block.
Oh my gosh, there's 3 pearls.
How are there 3 pearls? Wait, are they ours?
Pearls.
Whose are these?
Did we leave pearls here?
And with the help of enough wind charges to completely PowerPoint the frame rate, that block can be at least 30,000 meters away from pretty much anything.
Grian, I have 2 FPS.
Are we done here?
I think we're done.
What? Hello? What in the world?
If the machine for sending the fire people to the Shadow Realm looks to you suspiciously like Etho's player launcher, worry not. It basically is exactly that. It's just the player is inside the Ender Pearl, like a Pokemon of sorts. Yes, actually launching all the wind charges crashed the server, and yes, this means that the server reset and they got to do it again. because every now and again, Hermitcraft members will randomly reinvent Exile.
We were getting some weird lag for a while.
Yeah, the server
literally,
crashed.
The server lagged, it restarted, and now Impulse is 100,000 blocks away.
Yeah,
And
it's
it just
really
happens
strange.
just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird.
It is really weird, isn't it?
At least the other victim of the Great Launching had a bit of advance warning, because Pearl is tracked down by Etho, Grian and Gem while she's adding some more trees to the custom cliffs she built last time, and they insist on breaking her ender chest before she goes anywhere.
Sorry, Jim. I know you wanted to be a part of that.
I actually don't. I lost my fortune pick, so I couldn't
I
be
got
in on
one.
this.
Oh,
bit.
that's unfortunate.
Pearl actually gets teleported to a fire tower by Impulse returning from his first exiling, and is halfway through getting an explanation of what happened when her launched Ender Pearl finally lands, placing her roughly 120,000 blocks away.
Where am I? I don't. What? Yep. What, is that 100,000 blocks? How did they manage that?
By that time, she'd had time to bring emergency ender chest supplies, but decides it'd be funnier to build a cottage and put out any nearby forest fires before she gives them the chance to warp her back and do it again.
They're not just gonna leave me out here. It's fine. All right. It's okay. Look, I'm making myself a house.
When Team Egg has had their fun and the victims get to go back to their business, one of the first things Pearl does is track down Zombie Cleo and ask them to make some bird poop map sprites. But surprisingly, it's not to drop all over her tormentors' bases, it's to add some detailed touches to the landscaping and path laying she's just done on her cliffside, which includes a tree full of parrots who would definitely have pooped everywhere.
Oh, that's poop. Oh, that's great.
Fortunately for Rendog, those parrots haven't yet made a nest in the magical trees of the city of Trillium, unless those tree trunks didn't look like diorite originally.
Although it kind of looks more like a giant mushroom than a tree, I suppose.
Along with the systems of magic and the meticulously planned lore, Ren's arcane city is also a place of graceful order, with carefully topiaried trees and walls that frame your view both in and out. The trees are all sprouts of the mother tree Ren builds in a much more organic fashion.
And it wouldn't be a Rendog build without a bunch of particles.
He's also curious about the arcane artifacts that have appeared in the shopping district, so after the Nautilus race, he goes to bid on the Etho Wither statue, is surprised by the profits of the wool shop, and witnesses firsthand the magic of Whack-a-Shulker.
And that was actually even more?
We're surprised Corrales wasn't still playing it, because he certainly was when Doc logged back in, and it seems like he spent over a stack of diamonds on the game by now.
The record is still set to 15. He's still chasing that high from the first game.
This is funding Doc's continued efforts to terraform his stretch of the coastline into the ice planet of Hoth, although given Doc's reputation, at this point it seems more likely to contain an evil empire than a rebel base. Visitors will be delighted to hear that after all the pulsating cracks, Doc's iceberg finally has an orifice.
But yeah, so when I'm thinking here and another one there, then we have enough cracks for the areas that are mainly visible for the base.
In the process of landscaping all the way up to the back door of Decked Out, Doc discovers that firefly bush particles kinda look like snow, provided that you're okay with the snow going upwards every so often, but hey, it's all some kind of sorcery anyway. But the thing that truly has his attention this week is the Nautilus Racing League, which you may remember he promised not to be competitive about originally, but now he's got a second place trophy he's starting to reconsider.
Yay! Now I want to have this ugly thing behind me for no reason. I just want to win.
Cubfan135 has been tracking overall progress of the race with cinematic flybys and a commentary track, which I guess would be director's commentary given that it's him who decided all of the directions. The helpful data displays he made should be on the screen right now, and you'll be shocked to find out that Cub is not actually winning at his own game. Much.
And there is a drown on the course, ladies and gentlemen. A drown has entered the course, firing at Etho. Cub now worried. Cub goes the long way around.
To help it, he does actually introduce teal logs with orange spikes through his part of the course, which just means he made Minecraft Guardians again. We need to also admit that he gives Doc's Shulker game a run for its money, so he's not just good at games he made. But what's most important is that since the last time he visited the shopping district, Rendog did indeed put an ender chest into his hat shop, so the righteous arson of the place is postponed, despite there still not being any hats in there.
Are we being serious right now?
Azumavoid dodges that problem entirely by having shops back at his own base, where Cub surely won't find them. Really, X is not selling anything either, at least not yet. The man is simply too busy completing his music collection. This time it's time for a lava chicken record farm, which is a zombie spawner with some chickens tied to it. Need to wait for the babies to spawn in, but luckily the chickens are reusable. With the newer tunes, his collection of musical instruments also expands, now adding a sequencer to the oversized redstone piano. This being redstone, the thing takes up an entire wall and a significant crawl space behind it. But X shouldn't be running out of space anytime soon, now that a talk with Mumbo and also Corrales has introduced him to the idea of modular row houses, specifically the Lego ones. Significant financial burdens await anyone looking into the hobby, but worry not, Azuma just looks up the designs for inspiration on his own wall of facades. The elephant in the room being that with this build style he will never actually need to build the backside of anything, but again there's plenty of space for the elephant too.
Suits the building to me. Like, it feels like it could be a radio station.
The drum machine is also drummer approved after Azuma gives Skizzleman a tour of the facility, and in exchange, X gets introduced to the inner workings of Skizz's psyche, in the form of the minecart roller coaster he's planning to continue into the next room once this pixel art tree has a breakthrough.
Keep in mind this whole thing will be that moss, and then I think we're gonna hit them with some darkness there. I'd mentioned earlier, that popping out of the wall like that, I don't even like that. I wanted this to be as flat as possible.
On the surface, though, Skizz's base is undergoing some significant changes, thanks to a shulker box that mysteriously appears on a cliffside during the intro. Its contents compel him to burn down his leaning tower of pale moss, and he takes the time to lapse some glass fog into his storage room before calling on Impulse's firefighting duties with the reluctant energy of a kid returning to school after the holidays.
Impulse?
Hello?
Hey,
Hey.
Oh, hurry, there's a fire. It's a really big deal, you
Are you
should
serious?
hurry.
He then attempts to fight fire with fire. But the true purpose of infernoing the tower is that he's had time to sketch it out with Gem and Grian helping behind the scenes, and he wants to rebuild it in a more modular fashion. So he buys a bunch of wool from Rendog's shop so he can frame out the different segments with the intent to replace it piece by piece. And then, because all of this has been about ego death, he revives his by building a sign aimed at Tango's bone meal farm.
Feels good to take the high road on that.
The green moss, in the meantime, remains inflammable, so there's no possible downside to False Symmetry completely drowning her base's terrain with it. With the home build slowly escaping her home area, False puts in a considerable effort to transition the volcanic rock she built into the more spiky terrain Scar made, especially now that his one has reached False's side of the spawn area and is looming at all times in the background.
It actually gives a good foreground and background vibe, which I quite like.
False actually puts her own spin on it by gradienting the dark spots in the flatter areas with logs and splashes of brown colour, which creates a smoother feel to the hills, but also does kind of look like JPEG compression.
This is hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of block collecting and placing. And, well, I've got a big old plan for right here in the centre, so hopefully you're excited.
XB Crafted is no stranger to smoothing out hills, but this time he practically inverts one, time-lapsing a new lake into the flat areas of terrain outside his base, with a pumping station attached to provide the residents inside the walls with clean water.
I went ahead and stuck a rock right there. I couldn't figure out what to do with that section.
The smaller pond is for recreation and reflection. For example, Zombie Cleo stops by to reflect on how they've designed cattail plants like this several seasons ago.
But chat definitely did not tell me how to make them, so that was all.
You know what? Chat is good at not telling people how to do
I
stuff.
know.
But it's not a competition. Until XB decides to compete with Corrales for how long it takes him to notice he's being watched from the roofs and treetops of the Roman villa.
I've only been watching you for 3 minutes.
But what happens if you took all that water, evaporated it into clouds, froze it on the way back down, and used it to build a snowman outside of Etho's base? Well, he'd probably start burning things down.
Do you ever get the urge to burn things? Because I gotta say, ever since we turned the fire tick on Hermitcraft, it is so much fun.
Etho's attempts at arson are a footnote in his episode, really, because he rebuilds his tree farming room from previous seasons and also does the glass fog trick in the floor. He brands his transport platform Planet X, or Plain Text depending on how you read it. He plans little side parkour routes around his base, catches up on an amethyst farm, helps Tango with an escaped warden, and finally lays out a massive area for more permanent villager trading halls. This setup is really designed to account for zombies having longer reach now spears are in the game, a factor which Etho gets around by storing all his villagers in the floor, only to have them bounced back up by slime blocks when he walks past. The floor also has a hidden set of item transport streams, so he can just toss any traded goods onto the trapdoors and they'll be shuffled away into storage along with the traders.
I made sure to give it a bit of time because I didn't want them to constantly fall down while I was there and maybe I stopped for a moment.
The jury is still out on whether Joel's smallish beans simply burning down a village was more humane to the villagers or not. Needless to say, Joel is doing great. He only asked a sheep if it fears death once in this time lapse. As Gemini Tay's base cathedral grows a clerestory and makes us look up what parts of a cathedral are named for the 3rd week in a row, Joel decides it's time to actually touch base with Gem, so he extends his to hers. And yes, there's a village in the way, but no, not anymore.
This took quite a while once again, but it looks so much better now. Look at it. Oh, yeah.
Among other things, the 4.5 hours of landscaping does put a custom riverbed between him and the nearest fire tower, making it harder for the first responders to reach him. Though Joel himself got plenty of practice navigating the rivers, what with the Nautilus Grand Prix still ongoing. Still, it is a shame, given that Joel at this point is pretty close to calling the police on whoever is leaving him signs pointing at absurd numbers of dried ghasts. Parenthesis, Grian. And finally there's Mumbo, who claims to have been almost struck by lightning recently, which you'd think was a result of him building with all these aesthetic lightning rods, but apparently he means in real life, so I guess it's just because he's really tall. Mumbo's clifftop Kowloon-walled city continues to expand its tentacles into just about every direction, and if you think that's an odd way of putting it, he does liken it to the underside of an octopus at one point in the build process.
And it's not working. Yeah, that looks super weird.
Now he's got a formula, which is mostly pull a square out of the side of this bit, then decorate it with doodads. Amid all these extrusions and greebling, he's able to chat to Azuma about how their bases will interact this season, and to their mutual excitement, it seems like their aesthetics will be pretty compatible. Let's check in with Mumbo to see how that's affected the chuff level.
Current chuff level is incredibly high.
Thanks, Mumbo. And now over to Pixel Riffs with the outro. That's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is SloyXP and my name is Pixel Riffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.